Edward, can you tell me a little bit about what's happening here in this work?
Well, quite honestly, I think, it definitely started with a dream about, I'd just done a very elaborate one of these big A2 drawings, which were a series of three works relating to polyphony. And I think the night after I finished the third of those drawings, I had this dream that I could do a drawing using writing words. I had sort of images of building up, if you like, something by writing my thoughts, which is what I'm doing now, and literally seeing what it would produce. I mean, normally I start drawing over there, but this time I started somewhere in here, I think, and I wrote a whole collection of very freely connected thoughts from all sorts of things to do with, I remember there are things about landscape here, there are things about poetry, something about architecture, something about Leonardo da Vinci over there. Then I can see odd little bits of words of colours, saffron, bronze, silver, white, all these things in a continuum, just an absolute stream of, free thinking. I wouldn't call it improvisation, because what I'm discovering with the progression of this drawing is that layer by layer, line by line, word by word, letter by letter, and time by time through time, it's beginning to compose itself. It's beginning to suggest, if I become, for example, preoccupied as I was in that area, which is much more dense, with a particular subject, and I kept the writing drawn from or spawned by that subject in that situation, in that place, then you get this density. Where there's something which is just more kind of open-ended, linear thinking, sequential thinking, so far, I haven't finished the drawing yet, it hasn't been necessary for me to overlay that, but to see actually really more or less quite clearly, quite transparently, the sequence of words with only odd little patterns of interruption. But I'm noticing there's that zone of concentration. Over here, there's a big linear form of concentration, a small one there, another one emerging there, quite a strong one there. That one had to do, this came from the word locality, and then, I find at the end of locality came the word disbelief, and it stopped. So sometimes a word, not a thought, but just a word will define a moment when I'm going to break off and move somewhere else. I mean, I am working my way down, but I'm also working my way across, into, upwards, over, and looking at the undersurfaces of things before I write something on the oversurface of it. This is, I suppose people say, do you mean it's a stream of consciousness? It certainly streams, because it is very much, I'm writing as an English writer, left to right. Time begins, time is discreetly stopped. Something which is going that way, but I'm also aware, the more I look at this, that when you go that way, there's a kind of non-linearity about this, because it's also going that way or that way. And then I have this idea of foreground thinking, background thinking, overt thinking, covert thinking. It's just a delicious kaleidoscopic adventure with the act of realization of what's going on in my brain in terms of writing it down. And I wouldn't be surprised in some senses if what we're ending up looking at here is rather, I've begun to think this is quite synaptic, that it's like the brain actually works. It has all these incredible constellations and clusters and galaxies of materials which have individual words, but which are connected by a tissue of needing to build structures, some of which are very simple, like that, some of which are very complex like this. So I think the short answer to that long answer I've just given is I started off thinking that I would do this drawing, but I think the drawing is drawing itself, because I think that thinking, when given enough freedom, is likely to take you up to the point of chaos, because if you allow your thinking to be free, it's going to be prone to both order and disorder, to be able to construct and destruct materials. And I think that this work, in the end, will be a sort of allegory of the relationship between inside and outside activities of mind, spirit, and senses. At least I hope so.